Question number one for the Fast Five. What's your favorite franchise to visit when you've been on the road for a while? Maybe you're missing home.
Because I'm such a big sports fan and I've been on the road so much the last 3 weeks during the NHL and NBA playoffs, I keep finding myself at Buffalo Wild Wings
Ah,
because we know the games will be on. So I
yep.
get off work and I know that if I find a Buffalo Wild Wings in that town, I'm going to be able to watch the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs, or the Cardinal game or anything.
Any game
So
you
that's
want,
kind of,
basically, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why, and I was just at Inspire Brands headquarters like 3 days ago, shooting a video for IFA. So it reminded me of
Oh,
Buffalo Wild Wings.
I live in a very small town in Maryland, and we are getting a Buffalo Wild Wings. It's fairly big for the town, so there's a lot of buzz about it coming in. We desperately need a good sports bar or pub to kind of hang out. So I love that answer. Question number two. If someone's visiting St. Louis, what are three things they need to do before leaving?
The number one thing in St. Louis is the zoo, but it's also like the number one free attraction in the country. We have another place called the City Museum that is not a museum. It is like a giant jungle gym for adults. Like
Huh.
it is crazy, it is intense, it is actually probably somewhat easy to hurt yourself in there, especially if you're out of shape and old like me. But uh, I always tell people about the City Museum. I mean, obviously it's a kid place too, but adults can do everything in there. Culturally, I think the third thing besides the zoo and the city museum would be we have a world-class botanical gardens. Like we really have an unbelievable botanical gardens here. So if you're into, even if you think that that would be boring for you, it's really not. There's just so much going on.
Question number three. I noticed that you're a pretty big St. Louis Cardinals fan. What's your favorite Cardinals moment or memory?
So I was a Cardinals fan my whole life, a huge Cardinals fan. And then when I got to work for them, I was their technical director for a couple seasons before I took a different job. And the only reason I'm not still sitting there being their technical director is because I took a different job. And when I was their technical director, they won the World Series and I got a World Series ring. And so I have a World Series ring with my name on it that they made for me. It's great. But the other thing is during the 2011 World Series, the famous David Freese home run, I spent that whole series, all four home games in St. Louis in the Rangers dugout. I was working for Fox. I wasn't working for the Cardinals, I was working for the network. And so I spent the four home games of that World Series, including the David Freese home run from the dugout. So those are my two, like just getting that call that I was going to work for the
Yeah.
Cardinals and then spending that World Series not just in the stands but in the dugout like that, basically on the field.
I'm going off script. Favorite current Cardinals player?
It's probably Arenado. I mean, he's still the best player. Goldschmidt's still pretty good, but he's getting up there. And they've got some young guys who should be hitting a lot better than they are. They've just been really bad the last couple of years, and it's very atypical. The Cardinals, I know
Yeah.
people around the country don't want to hear too much about this, but like last time they were this bad, I was 12 years old. They finished in last place in 1992 and I was 12 years old, and they finished in last place last year. And those were the last two times. It's kind of a little bit of dark times for the Cardinals right now.
Question number five. We're 10 years in the future. You're the president of the IFA. In which city, and it can be any city in the world, do you think we should host the IFA conference?
I think what I've seen is even though the show was better this past year in Phoenix, not as many people showed up because it wasn't in Vegas.
Yeah.
I think if you really want the maximum amount of people to show up, you need to do it in Vegas. I would also potentially go with Orlando because people would bring their families. But I think to maximize the amount of people walking through the door, I think you got to have it in Vegas.
And it's funny because you're also thinking of this from the perspective of we want to get people there, right? Sometimes people answer that question and they're like, well, my favorite city is. And so I think both of those things come into play. I know we're on the trade show circuit, so we go to Orlando a lot, we go to Atlanta a lot, we go to
Yes.
Vegas a lot, right? Like those are, I feel like that's sort of the whatever the triumvirate of trade show locations. So, Rob, thank you so much for coming on Five Franchising Questions, for doing the Fast Five with us, for sharing a little bit about your personal life as well as your professional life with Outreach. How do clients, prospective clients, people in the franchising world get in touch with you if they want to work on a video project?
So, I mean, it's pretty simple. If you go to outreachstudios.com, there's a little form you can fill out. You could just email me at rob, R-O-B, at outreachstudios.com. Love to talk to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you all so much for watching 5 Franchising Questions. That's a wrap.